Welcome to another episode of ET Ask the Expert. My guest today is Romita Mazumdar. She's the founder and CEO of FoxTale. Romita, welcome to Ask the Expert. Now, first question for you. Skincare beauty is an extremely crowded sector. I keep hearing of new brands every other day. Why choose this sector for your startup?
Thanks, Suresh. Very excited to be here and talk to your audience. I think this is the question that I asked myself when I started because I have started when I'm a challenger brand. I've come after every other brand that today we compete with had been there for a few years by then. There were two things. I started with a very clear vision, mission, goal. For me, entrepreneurship started with this goal of building a 1,000 crore consumer brand with 20% EBITDA. And beauty is one of the few consumer segments that lets you operate at that revenue pool as well as that profit pool. So because of that, beauty was something that was a very clear answer to the category. Why this next step to me became, as a founder, I feel you have two kinds of experiences. Either you are an operator and you have a very strong experience in that category to do well and have a right to win, or you are a power user of the category. I am a skincare power user, so I knew that I'm a power user of a category that will let me get this financial profile of a 1,000 crore brand with 20% EBITDA. But of course, it was very, very cluttered. So the next step was just going deep into what does clutter mean. And when I broke it down, and given I was in a VC prior to this, I had access to information in terms of financial profile of companies, and a lot of new age companies were growing very fast, but none of them were making the bottom line. And if I look at FMCG companies and incumbents, they were growing, which means it's a beautiful market where everyone can grow, but they were sitting at a margin profile of 20-25%. And the biggest difference between FMCG and new age companies was number of SKUs and this concept of hero products. So whether if you look at Fair and Lovely, right? Fair and Lovely has one SKU that was there 50 years back, 30 years back, the same now, right? It changed its name from Fair and Lovely to Glow and Lovely, but it continues to dominate the Indian moisturizer market. And similarly, Himalaya Neem face wash sits with 70% of the revenue pool, as well as a massive market share, almost 50% of the face wash market. So what was very clear that in a cluttered market, if I can do hero products, so a very old school mindset of limited SKU, high revenue per SKU, I will end up growing fast because the TAM is such, but I'll also end up making money. So honestly, what looked like very cluttered, looked like a very strong opportunity because there were a lot of brands, but not many were making money. So I wanted to become the brand that makes money. So there was no clutter there, and that where I ended up finding a space for myself.
Right. For those of us who don't know these terms, let me just simplify. SKU is stock keeping unit, and SKU in what normal people would call, I mean, by normal people, I mean non-entrepreneurs would call a variant, right? If you have
Variant.
three variants
Yeah.
of a particular moisturizer,
Yeah.
one each variant is called one SKU.
Yeah. Yeah.
And TAM, of course, is total addressable market. That
Yes.
brings me to my second question. You worked as a VC, so you're pretty competent in that domain. You're a power user of skincare and beauty products, I imagine, like you said. Being a power user, Romita, doesn't automatically qualify you to be an entrepreneur and give you a right to
Absolutely.
win. How do you translate that being a power user and taking the leap to being an entrepreneur with the right to win?
I think, Suresh, I'm still discovering what it means to be an entrepreneur. For me, being a power user meant authenticity in product. Power user didn't give me a right to win the market, but power user gave me the right to be able to have a say in what a great product is. When I'm sitting with my R&D team, and I know what my expectations of a moisturizer is. So that was number one. So I was a power user of a category. So when you give me a product, I can tell whether it's a great product or not because I've used this so much. What are the expectation I have as a user? But honestly, Suresh, entrepreneurship in consumer as a category starts with consumer itself, right? And for me, that's where I think my right to win ended up landing, and I still think today lands. हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं कंज्यूमर का नस पकड़ना, which means you can read between the lines of a consumer expectations. And that's something I knew about myself a little from my VC days, and I think I doubled down on it, and I'm still on a learning curve there. And if you look at my book, I read a lot of psychology, very interestingly. And being able to understand what you call behavioral economics, why a consumer behaves, why A or B has X expectation about a product, not. So, but for me, the entrepreneurship journey is really that. But power user came into creating authenticity in product. And I think once you understand what a consumer wants, it needs to go both in marketing and the product was one bit of it, which came from being a power user. Marketing is something that's been a learning curve, right? But I again think that if you get the consumer insight right, everything else is a back, you can back solve it to reach that, land that message. Yeah.
Now let's talk about consumer insight.
Yeah.
Uh, the fact that you did 3,000 interviews, you interviewed
uh,
3,000 women, and you worked behind the counter, I imagine, in a beauty or sales beauty shop
yeah. Yeah.
before you started your business. So,
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
questions for you here. What's the one most surprising thing you found from those 3,000 interviews?
The most surprising thing I found is that every woman, and it's integrated in the name of the product also for us, that every woman correlates her skin to everything in her life. So actually, if you talk to women about skin, you say, "Oh, you're looking dull today." They'll say, "Yeah, I had a very bad day yesterday. I was out in the sun." They will correlate it to hard water, soft water. They will correlate it to just becoming a recent mother, a new mother. They will correlate it to stress in their life, food in their life. And so when I spoke to these women, and you will not believe, my average talk time was 47 minutes, Suresh. So I would have conversations about skin for 47 minutes. And only I think 5 7 minutes was what product you are using, what you like. It was more about how they think about their skin and how everything that they do mentally, emotionally, physically impacts their skin. And that's how we came to this line. And I was telling someone very early when I started this journey, every skin has its own story. And that's how we have the tail in the name Foxtail, TALE, right? So I think skin has a story. Skin is not as simple as what you apply on it. Skin is everything you eat, everything you think, and it reflects. Skin is a living, talking organ in your body. And to us at Foxtail, that's how we look at skin. We look at skin as not a commodity, not a lead. It's really an organ that talks to us. Yeah, it's a living being. And yeah, that was the most surprising thing. I didn't know that before.
And working as a salesperson behind the counter, what did that teach you?
It's a very hard job. I still think that sales is the hardest job. Marketing and sales are different. Marketing is you think something will work and create assets around it. Sales is jaake bechna. For me, the most difficult thing was conversion. In the sense that now I know that if a BA counter makes sales agent converts one person in the entire day, they are very very happy about it, right? And then, as a bratty VC 25-year-old, I'm like, no, I'm going to convert one every hour. It's not that easy, right? And that's now reflected digitally also, right? Usually people take 5 to 7 sessions to buy one product. On an Amazon, etc., you spend 7 8 minutes before you make a purchase, right? So I think patience as a and the wins, sales people know how to make wins because they've done. And for me, oh, I sold one in the entire day. I used to feel so, no,
It's a tough
very,
job. It's a good learning. It's a humbling experience
very humbling.
to be a
It's a
sales.
very humbling experience. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Next question I'm going to ask you is I'm going to ask you as a hardcore man. Every time I pick up a women's beauty magazine, I am terrified. I'm flummoxed with terms like niacinamide and high hyaluronic acid, not even an easy word to pronounce, and
Yeah,
retinol, and I don't know what else. Every two
yeah,
weeks, there seems to be a new chemical term.
yeah, yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
this a barrage of information? How do your customers handle this level of chemical information?
So, Suresh, I think 5 years back, the social media has changed, has made information democratic. So, part of before I talk about the barrage of information, the barrage of information is not just true for beauty and skincare. It's just a way of living today, right? With social media, with globalization, the democratization of information has created barrage of information. All of these things always existed. Fair and Lovely has niacinamide in its bottle since 50 years. It's not an ingredient that suddenly has come and suddenly we D2C brands have created it. Like they've had it, like vitamin B5, vitamin C. Brands have had these ingredients forever. But barrage of information, what it has done is made the user feel more empowered. So now the user wants to not just know that, oh, you're a brightening moisturizer, they want to understand the why. So in the back labs, in the R&D lab, niacinamide was the reason why a Fair and Lovely was making you brighter or giving you the efficacy that it was. But today, when a user asks a why, that niacinamide goes from just in the formulation to a marketing proposition.
Front of pack.
Yeah, and I think that is the difference. So I think a lot of this information barrage is a user ask, and when I say user ask, it shows the empowerment and the uh, what democratization of information has done. It's educated people not just on what they are studying, but also what they are consuming. You see the same thing with food, right? Suddenly, label reading has become a thing. I don't think 10 years back, label reading, even 5 years back, it was a thing. We understand protein, we understand carbohydrates, simple carbs, complex carbs,
Glutathione,
gluten,
creatine.
gluten. Yeah, we understand all of these things, right? So now the thing is to, it's the way the society is moving, it's the way the world is moving. The smarter you become, the more information you have, the more information you demand. Yeah, it makes marketing easier for us because today I don't have to fight on brightening. I can really say why am I better, why am I more innovative than the others. How to break the clutter in this becomes always is the more complex problem statement. I think increasingly I believe कि it's going to be difficult to create brands. 10 years पहले brands बनते थे, अभी businesses बनेंगे, brands बनाना मुश्किल है. So because and business is a P&L, brand is the balance sheet. I always say that क्योंकि eventually कितना cash जा रहा है उसमें. हाँ.
That's a good definition. Business is the P&L and the brand is the balance sheet.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, all right. Now, Romita, different brands have different focal points.
yeah,
Different countries also have different focal points. My
yeah,
friends talk about K beauty, Korean beauty, that is known for its ingredients or its effectiveness. J beauty or Japan beauty, that's known for clinical testing.
yeah, yeah.
German beauty, that is known for something else for its right. And what is Indian beauty known for? Indian skincare known for? Is it the cliche of Ayurveda and herbal and natural ingredients? What is the country is known for?
No, I actually think India is now, and I mean it, Suresh. Now that I'm building for India, in India, I think Indian consumers are one of the smartest consumers. Indian consumers care about efficacy, and hence Indian beauty proposition stands with detan, brightening, acne. So if you look at any Indian brand, whether it is Forest Essentials, whether it is your likes of mass brands, mass FMCG brands, they've all been built and scaled on value proposition as an aspect, right? So I think K beauty is about they took ingredients at a very different level. You have the ginsengs of the world. J beauty is about clinical trials. And see, all of this is correlated. It's not like a Japanese is buying a product that has high clinical trial. At the end of the day, we all want the product to work. But I think, yeah, I think Indians have just cut it short. They like cut the crap. Tell me whether it works on me or not.
People don't buy shampoo, they buy lustrous hair.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
people maybe don't buy niacinamide or clinical testing. Maybe they
They
buy
don't.
bright skin.
Yeah, see, all of these are effects, right? I always say whether niacinamide is being bought or vitamin C is an effect. It's an effect of marketing, propaganda, and everything else that's happening. The core and cause is to buy efficacious products. That was true 50 years back. That is true. Like people wanted to become brighter 50 years back. People want to become brighter today. They will want to become brighter later. They want anti-aging products. 30 Ole was relevant. Today we have retinol, so every we are trying to make it look like all of us are the same, but there's still going to be, so hence it's more difficult to create brands. But I think Indians are a lot clearer, where they don't they because maybe our lifestyle is such, the weather is such, we work very hard generally as a society, whatever the reason for that is. We have the information, so we ask for more, but we buy for one very clear reason ki, and wahan pe detanning in summer becomes important, acne in rainy season becomes important, hydration in winters become important. So it's a fairly so I think our focal point is what is the value proposition, what is the benefit. Yeah.
I'm going to change gears now. I'm going to talk about raising money. If I'm not mistaken, Romita, you've raised a sizable chunk of money, around $58 million, if I'm not mistaken. Now, many entrepreneurs tell me that it's very tough to raise money, but it's equally tough to spend that money. It's not easy, right? So, what is your capital allocation strategy? How are you spending this money? On what?
So of the $58 million we raised, $30 million we raised in our Series C. So majority of this has been raised in the last round, and that's still in the bank. So I don't think I have yet cracked capital allocation. What I've cracked is capital efficiency. The company has gotten to 800 crores in revenue with very little. Like 28 million dollar, which is fairly capital efficient, but now we are discovering that. So we now just starting our own manufacturing plant, which is a huge capital allocation for us, right? We are starting our own. We are doing a couple of acquisitions. So honestly, Suresh, for us, I think of capital allocation in a very, I think, clear way, that my first job is to protect capital and protect value for the shareholders who are already in the business, right? And hence, till Foxtail reached this 1,000 crore number and till we were profitable, the company was never in a hurry to diversify and say, I want to do XYZ, I want to do this. People came into the business to build whether it's employees, whether it's shareholders, they came to get to the 1,000 crore outcome, and that's when they will all be in the money, make money, etc., right? So I always said, in fact, very recently I wrote an email to the board that because now we are going aggressive in capital allocation, that my priority one will always be value protection. I'm not a risky I'm not a tech founder. I don't take risk. I'm very risk averse, right? तो जो भगवान ने दे दिया उसको तो संभाल के चलूंगी, उसके बाद देखूंगी आगे क्या करना है. So value protection becomes this. So manufacturing was the first thing that once I had extra cash, I said I will do, right? Because manufacturing lets me increase the gross margin of my current business, correct, protect IP of my current business, helps me innovate more in the category that I'm sitting at a 800 crore revenue, right? So for me, capital allocation starts with strengthening the business you currently are in, protecting the value of the business that you are currently in. Now I have enough, like even after this allocation, I will have a good 15, $18 million, good 25, $28 million in the bank, right? Then I start thinking of what is the diversification that I need to do. And for me, I'm always very clear that is it impacts my revenue or does it impact my margin? If it impacts my revenue today, and then what is my priority? So today, my priority as a business, if I'm 2 years away from a certain event like an IPO or anything, these are all, then everything works backwards from there. That what is the PNL at that time going to look like, and hence prioritize capital allocation basis that. So right now I'm very clear that I want to start new categories. So TAM expansion. So my capital allocation priority two becomes adding more TAM to the category. So after skincare, what other TAM I can add? So there I'm neither chasing revenue nor chasing margin. I'm acquiring a very small business that मेरे को ही run करना पड़ेगा. But that's where the second set of capital allocation will go. The third step. So it is really this. So the first priority one was margin expansion, manufacturing became it. The second was TAM expansion, that became the second. Yeah. Now if I can do justice to it, then I will amplify growth, which means that I will acquire scaled businesses where the top line gets added. So for me, that's really, I keep it very simple. I keep it very fundamental, and the returns I can get on that capital. So I don't complicate my life a lot.
Okay, Romita, you studied maths and economics and you worked as an investment banker and as a VC. So you have a terrific unfair advantage in business. Now,
Yeah,
for those who don't have your background,
yeah.
entrepreneurs who don't have your background, what's the one thing about capital efficiency that you wish entrepreneurs understood, but maybe they don't understand it as well as they should?
It's the only metric that public markets evaluate you for. So I think every founder who's learning, entering the business should understand that actually public markets में वो EBITDA नहीं बोलते, वो ये बोलते हैं आपका रोसी कितना है, ROIC कितना है. So I think my first thing I always tell people is that don't take people don't know what capital efficiency is, first
What
of
is
all. So I
capital
think
efficiency? Tell us.
that X, if I'm spending X in cash, how much am I getting against that in cash back? That's really the most rudimentary definition of capital efficiency. There are complicated formulas that PAT divided by debt equity, all of that stuff, but it's really the cash capital that you are putting in the business. At what time do you start generating returns from it, and at what rate do you start generating returns in it? Good businesses operate at a capital efficiency of 4-5x. When we are a startup, we can't be operating at that. So we start at a journey of 0.5x, 1x, and we move into that. So I think the only other thing I always say, like when now I'm starting new brands ourselves, right? So Foxtail operated at a capital efficiency of 4.5-5x. I am trying to make it better going forward. So I'm trying to, if 200 crores went into building Foxtail as a 1,000 crore brand, for me the goal for the next one is to make it at 150 crore, right? And increase the capital efficiency charter. So I think to new founders, know what capital efficiency is. Don't just look at P&L, look at your balance sheet and understand that. And second is that, understand uh, at what metric are you neither compromising growth nor compromising capital efficiency. See, if I could have operated a higher capital efficiency, but I would not have grown fast as I have, right? So after that, it's a very, educated call that you take, that at what is the optimal number that you want to operate at.
All right, next question. Now we'll talk about D2C and D2C marketing, which, from what I hear, is a big uh, drain on many companies' capital that they own. Romita, the promise of D2C was the ability, as you as a manufacturer, to sell directly to the consumer.
Hmm.
But many D2C brands, if not all of them, are heavily reliant on intermediaries. These are either social media platforms, they're quick com players, e-com players, and that's a significant amount of money that's going into these intermediaries. So
Yeah.
has the promise of D2C sort of not worked out as planned?
50% of my revenue comes from my own website, and 40% comes from marketplaces,
That's
which we
pretty high.
classify.
50 is
Yeah,
pretty high,
yeah.
don't you think? Yeah.
We have one of the largest websites in terms of revenue in the country as of now. And 10% comes from offline, which is largely general trade, so it's still a direct form of distribution. So it's not like I am going through third party. So uh, D2C is played out for me, Suresh. So I don't know. I wouldn't be able to, and that's been very critical for us. We launched our app 6 months back. That's 20% of our revenue, and all of it's organic. So people have downloaded the app organically. Those who have been Foxtel loyalists, and now they shop on it, they engage on it. The weekly average users are quite high for the segment that we are in. So for me, I have always wanted to play the game of D2C, which is be directly in touch with my consumers, be able to sell to my consumers. Why does it not happen for others? Honestly, D2C is difficult to build. As in, so there are multiple factors. First is like, just I think most consumer businesses take a marketing lens, not a data analytics lens. So I just had some one gaming company's CEO here. He's a Korean, and he said, "You are a tech company. You are not a consumer. You're not just a consumer company." So I think one big shift for us from the beginning is we are very strong with data analytics. We are very strong with predictive analytics generally as a function, and not today, like what's in the start of the business, right? So I think D2C requires not just consumer marketing but understanding data analytics, so using user cohorting, understanding. So we operate at a website conversion is how many people coming to your website actually end up purchasing. My percentage is 6 to 7. India average is 1.5 to 2%, right? So that is all driven by predictive analytics that we ended up doing. So I think D2C starts with that, then it moves into a lot of ops. Most brands that are marketing first will not have warehouses, will not know how to deliver on time, etc. For me, it's something. We have 7 warehouses across the country. We are able to deliver to most users in 24 hours to 36 hours, in certain cities like Bangalore in 2 to 4 hours. So that was an entire circle that we ended up, and it was a learning experience. We didn't get it right the first time. It's just that we took it as a north star to solve, and it's a complex problem to solve. Then third is profitability, right? When you are delivering on your own, when you are sending traffic to your website, understanding cost of acquisition and making money on the website is far harder than making money on market. All my marketplaces, I make money. I make money from the get go. Website, I have had to learn how to make money. I have to make the system learn how to make money, right? And then that's where alignment is required, because your board, everyone needs to align that why do you need to build D2C in an era where marketplaces will let you grow, will let you make money. And I have been very clear. So I think my board's been very kind. They've said, the vision has been very aligned. And fourth, sab karne ke liye paisa chahiye hota hai. So when you are God's been kind. I got money at the right time. So it's really, so I think if D2C has not happened in India is one of these four reasons in my head, which it can be both internal and external factors. Why it's worked for us is these four reasons. Yeah.
Okay, now I have questions about your consumers.
Yeah.
Romita, you have a community approval process for your products. So, from what I understand, you create a new product, you will send it out to a group of your loyal
Mhm.
customers. Only if
Yeah,
they approve it, you'll manufacture it and market it.
yeah,
Is that how it
yeah,
works?
yeah. That's exactly how it works.
Isn't that fraught with danger? What if you came up with something really good, but a group of consumers said, no, thumbs down to this, but it's going to become one of your hero products? What then?
If a consumer doesn't like it, it will not become a hero product. See, I used to hear this line that consumer is king, queen. As a one big learning, you asked me my learning as a consumer researcher, as a BA. My biggest learning as a founder, as a someone building a business, is consumer is really the king or queen. Well, you put as much money you want, you become the marketing genius that you want to be, you become do everything right. If the consumer doesn't approve of you, you have no right to exist, not even is secondary. So I think whatever the consumer says, they say. I take it as sacred cardinal. It doesn't matter what my gut says to me at that point. And luckily, what has happened that I think my muscle memory, my brain intuition is now believed. And starting point is what is the consumer saying. Everything else is backwards from there. So I don't think my intuition starts before that. So
So there's what's called the Henry Ford, Steve Jobs school of innovation that says consumers may not know what they want till we maybe give them a
yeah,
taste of
yeah,
something.
yeah,
So you're
yeah.
not a fan of that school of
No,
consumer doesn't know what they want?
I'm not in a category where I am creating. I'm not category creating, right? At the end of the day, people have used moisturizers all their life. People have used cleansers all their life. I am just coming and displacing someone else and saying I'm better. And I have to be better for me to displace. I'm charging 300, 200 rupees extra than FMCG companies have. I am reaching out to a more educated, more intellectually leaning consumer than have existed in the last decades. I have always said that I get why Steve Jobs, Henry Ford school of thought exists because they created categories. So they are also those are the people who come from a place of self belief where they believe that they will change the world and they have, right? I don't believe I will change the world. I just think whatever I do, I'll do with a lot of honesty and do a good job at. Yeah.
It's very refreshing to hear an entrepreneur being humble enough to say, I'm not trying to change the world because we hear that a lot. But I'm going to move on to my next
Yeah.
question. You know, much has been said about the Indian consumers. Are they price conscious? Are they value conscious? So, what do you think they are? Price, value, or both?
It's an easy answer to say both for me, but I think they are value conscious. The beauty of India is the consumer who is buying, having pan in a counter, is also going to a restaurant to eat, is also watching a movie in a PVR, but most likely also downloading from a fake site to get a free movie and not paying Netflix subscription. So Indian users, are complex. You just have to tell them why they need to spend that additional 100, and create value there. So I want to say we are both, but I think we really are value conscious. If you can justify to them कि ये ₹1 का value क्या है, वो कर लेंगे ऐसा.
Okay, final two questions. So, Ramita, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm 55 years old. I've washed my face with some soap or the other all my life. And I've used, I think, one single moisturizer for most of my life. Are men a category for you? Because men, I don't know whether men are going to have seven, eight different categories, engage with retinol and niacinamide and what else. It's a bit stressful for us men. I know I'm speaking as a cliche, but I'm generalizing for men of my age and my genre.
So we got to move you to first Foxtail moisturizer. That's something, Suresh. We need to make it happen. I'm going to make sure it happens after this call. 20% of our revenue comes from men,
Okay, that's a
and
big
it's a
number.
very and it's a very fast growing category, fast growing sector. Men are very selective. It's not that they are buying everything, but there are performance led products that they really buy. So there are certain subcategories where adoption by men is extremely high and extremely strong. So that clarity is also coming in that men are leaning towards some categories and some are and those are becoming gender neutral. Every skincare product is unisex. Like as humans, our skin are not different basis gender, but we are largely tested on women. We are tested on more than like some 18,000, 19,000 women. So we do test ourselves on women who have different heights, weight, different geographies, etc. Because of which the performance of the product on men is also as high as it is on women, and we get very high repeat from men. Just in the last year and a half, when we started seeing high adoption from men, we started testing the products on men. So when I now test, so almost one third of my panel is men also, because men generally have thicker skin, etc. But as a brand, you will see we talk a lot more about women, and we've so far done that because, see, our truth, Suresh, has that we started with talking to consumers. The first 3,000 women were women. First 3,000 people we spoke to were women. And Foxtel is a brand where products get created from the stories we hear, and it's created in a way where right to win becomes entering your story and becoming a part of your story. So I think our intuitive ability to understand women is far higher than our intuitive ability to understand men. I tell it jokingly, but I mean it. I don't think understand any man other than my husband. And I think men are more complex than women to understand. I also believe that women are, because women are a lot more candid, right? They are able to express more articulate. So it's just much easier to, as an outsider, to get a sense of what she needs, why she needs what she needs, right? So as a brand, I think if you ask me instinctively, our insights are far higher on women. We built for women, we are built by women. But men have adopted the products, reacted well to the products. So now we are going through a journey where we are trying to get to know him, and we are trying to ensure that the product works as beautifully. But I think the brand's, core and soul will always be very feminine, and I'm very okay with that space of being feminine.
Okay, Romita, final question for you.
Yeah.
If Bollywood were to make a movie on your life story, who should play you?
Yeah. Shah Rukh Khan.
Excellent answer. All right.
Yeah.
On that note, Romita Mazumdar, thank you very much for talking to us on Ask the Expert.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you so much. Very nice catching up.